Hey there guys, this is Unknown from GreedyTech, and in this video, I'll be reviewing the Asus ROG Phone 5 after 3 months of its launch. By the way, I have used this phone continuously for 15 days, so this review is going to be based on that usage. Now with that said, this phone is being sold online exclusively on Flipkart. It's available in two variants. Base variant is priced at 49,999 rupees for 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. Next variant is priced at 57,999 rupees for 12GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. Well, you also should remember that this phone doesn't have a dedicated SD card slot or even a hybrid SD card slot. So if you want more storage, you really have to get the bigger variant. There are also Pro and Ultimate variants. ROG Phone 5 Pro is priced at 69,999 for 16GB RAM and 512GB storage. ROG Phone 5 Ultimate is priced at 79,999 for 18GB of RAM and 512GB of storage. And these variants have a small display on the back. That's just amazing. Anyway, that's it about the pricing and the storage information. Let's start off with the review. And the first best thing about this phone is definitely its performance. This phone sports a Snapdragon 888 5G processor with Adreno 660 GPU. We have the 12GB variant with LPDDR5 RAM and 256GB of UFS 3.1 storage. As this is a gaming phone, when it comes to performance, this phone definitely gives you great results. Whether it's your regular usage or even high-end gaming, everything runs without any issues. No matter what game you're playing or how long you have been playing, there really aren't any major heating issues. I mean, it does get slightly warm on the back, but the cooling system on this phone is pretty good. And it's packed with a lot of stuff like its complete aluminum frame design, copper 3D vapor chambers, and the large graphite cooling pads. So Asus really did everything it could to bring down those temperatures. And if you still feel the phone is getting too hot, we also have some extra accessories like Aeroactive Cooler 5, which we can use to cool down the phone. So when it comes to performance, you really don't have to worry about it, and Asus also gives you a lot of customization options. You can tweak some settings to optimize performance as well from the Armoury Crate software. But I think the default settings are usually more than sufficient for most people. Anyway, gaming experience on this phone is going to be great, and not just because of that performance, but also because of that display. So obviously the next thing I'm going to talk about is the display. This one has a 6.78-inch Super AMOLED display with 144Hz refresh rate and 300Hz touch sampling rate. It also has a regular brightness of 800 nits and peak brightness of 1200 nits. And it also has HDR10 Plus support and has 111% DCI-P3 color gamut. It also has AS coating for reducing friction when hands are sweating. So when it comes to display, once again, we are getting the best. Well, this is how the display looks. There's no notch or any kind of punch hole design, so you get a complete unobstructed screen, which will give you a great experience. And that 144Hz refresh rate definitely adds to the overall gaming experience. Even in your regular usage, whether it's just browsing or Instagram or Facebook, whenever you scroll an app, you can really feel that the display is much more smoother than other phones. So display is definitely the next best thing about this phone. Next, this one also comes with dual front-firing 7-magnet stereo loudspeakers, tuned by Dirac, and it has Hyperstream 2 quad DAC architecture. Well, that means this phone has dual front-facing speakers which are amazingly loud, super crisp, and great for media consumption, and for gaming as well. And this is another thing which adds to the overall gaming experience. Here's a quick audio sample. Well, as you also have heard these speakers, these are definitely the loudest speakers that I've heard in this price segment, and the loudest among other phones with front-facing speakers or dual stereo speakers. So when it comes to media consumption, especially without using any kind of headset, it's going to be great on this phone. And this time, they brought back the audio jack. By the way, this phone also has quad mic setup for extra noise cancellation, which actually works pretty nicely. Now let's talk about hardware. Well, just like any other flagship, even this phone is packed with a lot of hardware, and especially things like air triggers, which can improve your overall gaming experience. But before that, let's talk about the security features. This phone has an in-display fingerprint scanner, and that's super fast at unlocking the phone. And you also get the regular face unlock feature, which is also pretty fast. In good lighting conditions, it is super fast. Even in low lighting conditions, it still works and it is pretty fast. And in complete darkness, it doesn't work. I tried with normal brightness and darker wallpaper, and it didn't work. But later I also tried with lighter wallpaper and increased the brightness and it worked. So in complete darkness, just increase the brightness to make it work. This phone also has a pretty good haptic engine, definitely better than most phones. And this haptic engine definitely adds a lot to your overall gaming experience. There's also an LED notification light on top, which is a nice thing. By the way, this one also has dual SIM support, so that might be another advantage. Now finally coming to the air triggers, just like the ROG Phone 3, we can do a lot more with these buttons instead of just clicking them. We can also divide it in two parts, left half and right half, so you get 4 buttons on the whole. You can also swipe on them for additional actions, so we can do a lot more with those air triggers. Besides that, we also have that squeeze feature, which triggers Google Assistant just by squeezing the phone, which is another unique feature that's available on this phone. It also has lighting on the back and it's completely customizable. You can have different color for different actions, like a different color for calls, a different color for gaming, a different color for when the phone is asleep, and a different color when the phone is awake. That's really cool. This phone also has another Type-C port. That's basically dual Type-C ports, and it has another port, but that one is dedicated to attach any external accessories like the AeroActive Cooler 5. And along with that, there are other accessories available which you can use to improve your overall gaming experience, and that's pretty great. So once again, in hardware department, we really aren't missing out on anything. In fact, it has great stuff like air triggers, a good haptic engine, and dual Type-C charging ports. Now when it comes to software, this phone is running ROG UI based on Android 11, which basically has two themes. One based on ROG's very own theme, and the other one is pure stock Android. And so far, it has been pretty good. The major difference between the two themes is just look and feel. Besides that, all the features are pretty much the same. Asus did add a lot of cool features and gestures to this phone, and most of them do work without any issues. There is also Armory Crate, with which you can have absolute control over a lot of things, including the lighting on the back and the performance. You can know more about the features in our best features video. Link will be in the description. So when it comes to software, everything is pretty smooth. There are no bugs, no lag whatsoever, at least when you're using the classic theme. When it comes to cameras, this phone has a triple camera setup on the rear. It has 64 megapixel primary camera with Sony IMX686 sensor, 13 megapixel ultra-wide camera, a 5 megapixel macro lens. And for selfies, it has 24 megapixel camera with f2.0 aperture. Now here's the camera user interface, which looks pretty similar to the previous Asus ROG phone. Well, there is really not a great change when it comes to the camera interface. They added in a lot of camera related features like 8K video recording, Pro Video, motion tracking. We also have a dedicated night mode, and lot more cool features overall. Cameras on this phone are definitely great, but this is not a camera centric phone. This is a gaming centric phone. And for a gaming phone, having all those camera features and quality itself is pretty great. For more in-depth information about cameras, check out our camera review. Link will be in the description. Now here are some sample shots. These are photos taken with rear camera. They are good. These have good exposure control. Colors look saturated in some photos, but overall it is great. Dynamic range is great and the color temperature is slightly on the cooler side. And the selfies look really good, and color reproduction is pretty accurate. And skin tones also look good. Dynamic range and exposure control are also pretty good. Now when it comes to battery department, once again this is definitely one of the best phones out there. It has massive 6000 mAh battery, and that's with split design, that is dual 3000 mAh batteries, and it has enhanced battery thermals. It supports ROG Hypercharge QC 4.0. It supports 30 watts Qualcomm Quick Charge 4.0 and supports 65 watt fast charging. It comes with 30 watts power adapter inside the box. Now the battery life is definitely great for an average user. It might even last 2 days with minimal gaming. So battery life on this phone is really good. And even if you're a heavy user or someone who likes to play a lot of games, battery life is not going to be an issue on this phone. You can also charge this phone while playing games. So battery life is not going to be an issue. There's also another feature called bypass charging, which basically doesn't charge the batteries when plugged in and just powers the phone directly, like a corded or wired piece of technology. This is supposed to help in preserving battery health, and that is pretty cool. Now coming to the build and design, this phone has pretty solid build. On the front it has Corning Gorilla Glass Victus, it has aluminium frame at the center, and on the back it is a pretty cool pattern, along with a 3D curved Corning Gorilla Glass. So overall in terms of design and build, it's pretty good, pretty solid, but when it comes to the overall form factor, this phone has a thickness of 10.29 mm and weighs 238 grams. In hand it fits pretty well, but it definitely has a bit of weight to it. And that's a major drawback with this phone for an average user looking for a normal phone. The weight of the phone and the thickness can be a problem for you, but if you look at it like a gaming-centric phone, that's definitely not a problem. Besides the overall form factor, this one is also missing out on two things, and that would be water resistance and wireless charging. These aren't that important for many, but the overall form factor, especially the weight and the thickness, is something you should definitely consider. So guys, to conclude, Asus ROG Phone 5 is the best phone you can get out there in terms of performance, display, speaker loudness, or anything else. This phone is really spec'd up with all the best things out there, and that's pretty great, but it's also what makes it slightly bulky and slightly heavy. So if you can just deal with that, then this is definitely the best phone that you can get. Not just for gamers, but also for regular users. And for gamers, it's just amazing. So guys, what do you think about this phone? Do let us know by commenting below this video, and if you're planning to buy this phone, use the link in the description. It always helps the channel. I'm Unknown from GreedyTech. Meet you in the next one.